Okay, so recently, San Diego Comic-Con, one of the biggest conventions for comic books and manga alike, went down, and I believe they actually had the author of My Hero Academia present. I seen a lot of people were really just hyped getting their autograph signed. Bunch of cool stuff. Kohei Horikoshi, I want to say I said that right. If I didn't, I apologize. Horikoshi Sensei. But there was something big that came out of it, and I got this from Yonko Productions, the source right here. He said something huge. Horikoshi just kind of like really made me a little bit more excited. Not that I'm not excited already, because My Hero, especially the latest few chapters, woo, baby, shit is getting lit, or whatever. But he made a, I don't want to say promise per se, but he definitely hyped something up with what he said, in just one line. But it kind of reminds me in a way of like Pokemon, and I hope I didn't lose you yet mentioning that. But the difference is that this is a manga author. The promise that was made with Pokemon was from like the TV staff, and that was like 10 years ago, and ever since then it vanished because they probably thought, Pokemon is too much of a cash cow. We do something like that, it'll kind of showcase us wrapping up, or maybe they were planning on wrapping up Pokemon at the time. And now let me get to the freaking point, is that Horikoshi said, we will be seeing Deku's father in the future of this series. And the reason I brought up Pokemon was that I remember the TV staff for Pokemon about like, I want to say 10 or 11 years ago, had promised we were going to see Ash's father eventually. I don't know when eventually is, because it was like a decade later and we're getting like different designs or whatever. Maybe it's just a different case though. Again, Pokemon is this huge phenomenon franchise. My Hero Academia is a big series, but it's nothing like the scale of Pokemon. So obviously you could take his word for it, because again, he's the one writing it. And it kind of makes me question, okay, exactly how is that going to be handled? Because honestly, Deku's father, he's been mentioned here or there, but it hasn't really been this big thing. I mean, it's not like it's the main premise of the series, or one of the big premise of the series, kind of like, you know, a Hunter x Hunter going, one of his goals was to find Jing. That's not necessarily the case with My Hero Academia. It's like, okay, we know that Deku's parents, they had powers, we know that his father was a hero, but it never really delved into it, and it's not like we've had All Might mention him or anything like that. So whatever is going on with the fact that we didn't see or really have any big references to Deku's father, it has to be two things. One, either he's just not that big of a hero and he's just like a nobody in the My Hero Academia world, which, yeah, that's kind of interesting, because like even Deku's never really referenced like, man, I wonder how my father did it, or man, my father was in this situation. We've never really heard Deku say anything like that. I think if I'm not mistaken, I want to say his father's powers was fire. He could breathe fire, something like that, and we've never really heard much from it. Honestly, we just know that Deku's father was a superhero. So the fact that that is going to be a big thing, I hope soon enough, or at least a couple arcs before it, that we start getting a little bit more foreshadowing of it. Because as of right now, to be honest with you, it's just like, it felt like it was going to be one of those unanswered questions. It's just like, oh, you know, just like Ash has a father that was going on a Pokemon quest or whatever. Like, that's kind of how it felt with Deku's father, because again, we don't have much context of the guy other than we know his powers, we know that he was a hero, and Deku doesn't obviously look up to him the most. He looks up to All Might. So maybe it's either that, possibly he's a vigilante and he just never really did things. It could be that he's been overseas, because that's definitely a plausible thing as well. Maybe he's a hero that went overseas to another place where they needed heroes, and that's why Deku doesn't really talk much about him or even know that much about him, because maybe it's just like he's a low-key hero somewhere overseas in the distance, and Deku really doesn't know shit, so he can't really, because you got to think as well, if you have a father that is a hero, right? And he's like a big deal or a decent hero, why wouldn't Deku look up to his own father, at the very least even close to the scale that he looks up to All Might? Because the way Deku has been showcased is like, okay, he has his mom, and his mom, you know, she's very concerned and protective of him, but he's never really showcased like, oh man, you know, I want to be just like my dad. What do you think if his father was a great hero or a decent hero, he would look up to him? Why would he look up to, don't get me wrong, All Might is, you know, the biggest hero in this story, obviously, so you're gonna look up to him, but it's never been a case of like even showcasing Deku looks up to his father in any sort of capacity of like, I gotta be as good or better than my dad, he was a great hero, or he is a great hero. So I'm wondering exactly how this is gonna all be brought into the story, because if it's just like, okay, you know, slide it in there, it's gonna be a little bit weird, because I would expect for Deku to, at the very least, be like, you know, if it's that his father's a loser, let's just say, right? Or his father wasn't really anything, then Deku would, at the very least, reference, like, I don't want to be like my father. You know what I'm saying? One way or another, I would have expected something, considering the fact that Horikoshi is saying, yes, Deku's father will be revealed in the future, unless maybe there's a case of Deku doesn't really know much about his father, of, like, as far as, like, if that even is his father. It's just kind of a weird circumstance, and his powers also make me wonder how similar he is to Endeavor. Who knows? Maybe Deku's father was just kind of like a scumbag similar to Endeavor, and that's why Deku kind of wrote him out of his own mind and never really talks about him or references him, because it was like, hey, if Deku wants to be this great person, he looks up to the symbol of peace, an amazing thing or whatever, and you have a father that is a hero, but he's nothing like the way you look at the world, and he's nothing like this idealistic version of a hero, then you're not going to want to be like him as well. So there's that possibility. And I mean, in Horikoshi's, you know, statement, he said in the future. So he didn't say in the near future and a couple of arcs this year or anything like that. So for all we know, maybe it could be that by the end of the series we find out about him, which who knows how long my hero is going to last. And if that's the case, then it's still, I don't know, I feel a certain way, to be honest with you. I always love when a story, especially something big like that, that's his father, for crying out loud, the main character's father, and he's supposed to play a role. If he was a normal civilian and he wasn't like, you know, a superhero or anything like that, it'd be one thing. I'd be like, okay, you know, he's a normal civilian. Why is Deku really going to talk about him when he's into superheroes and all of that stuff? But if he is a hero indeed, again, it's going to make me wonder, like, why doesn't he reference him? And I know I've said that quite throughout this video, but I always appreciate foreshadowing, especially it's like, that's a big deal. Like, for example, with Naruto, the difference with Naruto and like Deku, and I hate to compare because then everybody comes with the Flame Wars or whatever, but Naruto never knew about his father. He didn't know who his father was. He didn't know anything like that. So obviously it's going to be something that's not referenced much. It's just like, my parents died and I don't really know, and nobody ever told him, yo, you know, your pops was the fourth Hokage, right? Like, he didn't know that. But again, Deku does know who his father is, and again, is leading me into different theories. It could be, again, that his father is on some Batman type of stuff, because again, if Deku is somebody that loves the hero, that's out in the open and proud and very, very, you know, straightforward or whatever, Deku's not going to want to be like somebody like a Batman. Deku, if we're talking comics or whatever, Deku looks up to Superman and probably isn't necessarily fond of Batman. I mean, look at like Stain, for example. Even though Stain is more along the lines closer to a villain, obviously, than like, you know, Batman, he's a vigilante or whatever. But if his father's a vigilante that has hurt people, maybe Deku's just not proud of it, and he kind of, again, throws it to the back of his mind, like, yeah, my pops, he exists, but he's not something to be proud of. And again, it's gonna make me wonder about Deku's mom and stuff. This is a lot of questions, and I think a lot of buildup is in store, or should be put forth in order to reveal something like that, because it's like there was no context to begin with, no build-up. If, let's just say, within the next arc he just shows up randomly and Deku's like, oh hey pops, I'm gonna be like, oh hey, not foreshadowed dad, other than hearing a couple references in like the first episode. You know what I'm saying? Kind of curious what you guys think about this though. For starters, do you think that Deku's father, like, who is he? Like, do you think he's a vigilante? Is he maybe overseas being a hero? Could it be that Deku's just not proud of him because he never was a big hero? Or maybe his attitude is closer to somebody like an Endeavor. Meanwhile, Deku looks up to the knight in shining armor, so to speak, of an All Might, and his father's not. Because at the end of the day, do you guys think that Deku would still look up to this man, All Might, when he has a father that's trying to be a hero? I think Deku's the type of person that, even if his father isn't a great hero, as long as he's a good person and he's heroic, Deku would have probably looked up to him more than All Might, just because, okay, my father's a hero and he's doing it. So the fact that he doesn't, it speaks some type of volume, at the very least, to Deku's father's character, that is not somebody that Deku is highly proud of or praises, because he either doesn't have incredible accomplishments, he's not necessarily the most straight walking as far as being a true hero, or there's more to it, because other than that, it would just be like, so he has a father that he don't talk about and he's not proud of. And your overall thoughts and expectations for Deku's father being revealed. Definitely a huge statement from Horikoshi, and I'm gonna hold him to it. Don't do us like Pokemon, and then next thing you know, we're in My Hero Alola, and no. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, stalk my Facebook, follow me on Twitch, and make sure to hit the bell to get all notifications. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule. anime and manga for life, boy. Bow. Have an awesome day. Hopefully Deku's father actually gets revealed and there's some type of reasoning why Deku wouldn't be proud of his own father to constantly boast about him, but he boasts about All Might.
We make a major move, laugh and let the haters lose. We don't give a fuck, virginity intact, cream stack. Paper rules, if you heard it, best believe that. But now it's whatever, one day I'll be your favorite, but never. No matter how